They say you can learn a lot about somebody by asking them a simple question. What's your favorite thing in the world? For today's guest, Josh Miller, that would be data by a wide margin. So I'm excited to chat with him. Longtime friend. We were just talking about touching base again in Los Angeles. Hopefully out there visiting again this year for a deep Lakers playoff run. Josh wasn't even sure if basketball was going on right now, which we were laughing about before we started interviewing. But the founder, CEO, owner, real estate investor, crypto expert. Now it seems to say he told me to buy Bitcoin a long time ago, and I still haven't done that yet. But Josh, man, love to have you on the show here. How's Seal Beach treating you today?
It's pretty awesome living by the beach. No complaints. Yeah, I actually love the snow more. And when I tell people like right now there's a huge storm in Houston, they probably don't like that too much. But
Yeah,
I love to snowboard, so I split my time between snow resorts and living here.
very cool, man. Well, why don't you tell the listeners what you have going on business wise, and we can kind of talk about specifically some of your expertise, data and lead generation, which is obviously a huge part of this business.
Yeah, I think the key to my success was very early on realizing that I wasn't a real estate investor. I was a marketing agency. And once I realized that, I could put 100% of my focus on just marketing. And ultimately, that comes down to your data, how good your data is. And so, I shifted after I built up my portfolio of rental properties and could, focus on other things. I went to work on bringing this service to other people. So I started with just the data side, saying here's a data list, and then I realized like, man, there's a need for a software that can automate a lot of the multi-channel marketing. So brought that to the table, and then I realized like, yeah, you need data, you need the software, but you also need really good people. And I wasn't super happy with the virtual VA services out there, and there's the PPC companies out there. So I thought, okay, I'll add that layer on too. So now that's what we are. We're a full service marketing agency where we take care of the data, the marketing, and the people. And it's pretty awesome. Like I literally am living my dream right now of having an idea and then telling one of my team members to like, hey, let's try this, let's go do this. And it's pretty fun to I'm a visionary, not the implementer. So to be able to like, hey, like really act like the CEO and work with a whole team of people, of experts who know a whole lot more about things than I do. It's really fun.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And one thing that you say that's echoed by a lot of successful investors is really most of the people in our industry. This business is really more so real estate marketing than the real estate itself. Obviously, to have local knowledge of your market and rents and what type of exit strategy you use and presenting deals to buyer and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's primarily a marketing business. And a lot of investors' strengths aren't in data management or understanding data or even marketing. Some are marketing, but not the levels deeper than that with your favorite thing in the world as far as data. Can we talk a little bit about beginning your real estate journey and kind of because I love the story and how you came to be, and I know you genuinely want to help a lot of people, knowing you for a long time, which is awesome, and one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you and broadcast this to our audience. But can you kind of slowly go through the beginning of your real estate journey, and we're going to talk about why data is your favorite thing in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent 10 years with Chevron. I was supposed to be a project engineer on the renewable energy side, but I quickly fell in love with data and essentially figuring out how we can use mass amounts of data to create huge amount of savings within the organization. And one year I had created a project and we made $75 million. And I got a nice size pay bump, but I was like, it wasn't six figure pay bump. It's like a five figure, and I figured, I really needed to own my own business to be truly successful. And so at that point, I shifted my attention to what other things were out there, and real estate was the obvious choice. So I started using my data knowledge to figure out how to make money in this game. And I chose PPC. At the time, direct mail was really hot, but it seemed like PPC was where I could utilize my data skills. And I decided to go nationwide, just literally because I didn't know any better. I didn't know about wholesaling. So literally it was setting up a PPC campaign and marketing everywhere. And my very first deal came about. It was in some little town in Wisconsin. And knowing what I know now, I should have never done the deal because you need a certain size population and everything else. But this guy, it was a husband and wife. They responded and they're like, yeah, we really need to sell our house. We want, I think it was like 100K for it. And I called some local realtors and they're like, yeah, all day long we can sell this thing on the market for 120. No problem. We know this house, it's a 120. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was super scared, super nervous, and this is my first like real deal. And I decided to not do it. And they kept calling and they kept calling. And then like 2 days before the end of the month, they're like, look, we weren't telling you the truth. We don't really need to sell it. We have to sell it because the city is going to take the house at the end of the month because we owe taxes. I was like, oh, okay. So I called up the city. It turns out they owe, I'm rounding these numbers a little bit, but I think they owed somewhere like $50,000 or so on it. So I called the owners back up. I was like, look, you owe like 50,000 on it. What if I paid you like 52,000? So, I'll cover that and you'll have a few K to move. And they're like, fine, yeah, we're going to lose this house if we don't. And I didn't have 52K. So I went on to, believe it or not, Bigger Pockets. And I wrote some posts like, hey, I got a great deal. Would anybody lend me the money? And I don't want to call him idiot, but like, you shouldn't do this. But this guy responded to me and is like, yeah, I'll cover it. And so he gave me a full promissory note and we wrote it up on the spot, like super unprofessional. And he did 100% of the value, 52K. We closed. We closed on. I talked to the city. They extended a week. We closed on it. Called up the realtor, and I was like, "Yeah, can you sell this thing?" And he's like, "Well, I'll just buy it from you for 100." And I was like, "Okay." And so I just sold it literally 2 days later after we closed, and that was my first deal. And that gave me all the confidence I needed to really go nationwide and do sites unseen. And I've talked to a total of 2 sellers my entire career. That was one, and I did one later. But right after that, that gave me the money I needed to hire an acquisition manager, hire a lead manager, and really scale things so that I could really hit the ground running. I kept my job for 2 more years after that. But it allowed me to do deals in, I think it was over 30 states and become, really good at not being in the weeds because I felt like I knew it all, which of course turned out not to be true because you can't repeat that type of luck. I think those type of deals are the rarity. They're not the consistent that you need in this business. So anyways.
That's an amazing point there. One of the biggest things that I'm impressed by, I even had a bullet point here to bring it up, is that you've only talked to 2 seller leads in your entire career, and you had a massive rental portfolio doing deals in 30 plus states or 30 states. I thought that was one of the coolest things, that you've only talked to 2 leads in your entire life. But that brings up a great point of sticking to your strengths, like understanding your strengths and realizing those. With national wholesaling becoming more popular, Nick Perry was just last week's guest. He has a coaching course that's going to be awesome, where he's actually going to be doing like Zoom coaching with members in there. Josh has been doing it around the same time frame as Nick as well. So we could take this convo a few directions. We could talk about how you built up your real estate portfolio, but I think what may be better is understanding the data and how you look at certain markets and what led you into creating GoForClose as well.
Man, there's a lot to unpack there. So the data, you want to talk a little bit about the data?
Yeah, so we can talk like nationwide wholesaling in general, like how you use data for that, and then also because I would say the majority of folks for sure are staying either in their local market or maybe they're marketing in one state and choosing certain counties and certain zip codes due to criteria like investor activity, days on market, things like that. So I think we can kind of talk about nationwide wholesaling first and what like lessons learned and what makes
Yeah.
you successful nationwide wholesaling. Then we can dive into more specifically, like picking a market or analyzing your local market that investors are
Yeah.
marketing in.
But yeah, no, to be clear, I didn't wholesale anything. I didn't know what wholesaling was. So when I was buying and selling in all these different states, I was closing on them. So I would use private money to actually close on the deal. And then I would list it and then sell the property. That is funny you bring up Nick because I met Nick and I was at that time I had literally 30, 40 houses on the market and I thought the crash was coming. And I met Nick, who was kind of getting going on this nationwide wholesaling. I'm like, wholesaling? I should have been wholesaling, not wholesaling. And I ended up just giving him my entire PPC campaigns and everything. And that's when I dove in and started focusing on just one market to build up my rental portfolio.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as though going local or going nationwide, I mean, I do run an agency now where we're in, markets all across the country. So I can really speak to, how the marketing responds in different cities. And what was really an eye opener for me was I always thought that Los Angeles was so much more competitive than say Birmingham, because there was just so many more people in LA and so many more investors and so many more gurus and so many more people getting in. But the truth is that that's only part of it. The other half of the equation is there's just so many fewer distressed owners. So the higher your price point is, I would say the more sophisticated that these homeowners are and the less distressed owners there are. So each month when you're trying to hit like the most distressed people, if you're in a super hot market, there's just fewer of them. So that home price, the more expensive your home is, the more sophisticated they are. And then two, the less it makes sense to cash flow. And if you don't have that cash flow, you don't have the absentee owners. And if you don't have the absentee owners, that's where most of the distressed owners are. So when trying to choose a market, or if you're in a market that doesn't have a lot of good cash flowing absentee owners, chances are it might make sense to go look at a different market. Now, you still can succeed. We have clients in every market making money, but I can tell you that for the same marketing dollar spent, you're going to go a whole lot farther in the lower priced markets. Just because there's more, not that there's necessarily less competition, but that there's just a lot more distressed owners in those markets.
More opportunity when there's cash flow and absentee owners. That makes a ton of sense. Is that like variable number one for seeing how successful you could potentially be in a market?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah. I would say number one would be that price point that you're at. So if you're looking at two markets and one market has a bunch of homes at 200K and another one has 500K homes, you want to go to that 200K market. The number two would be, the percentage of absentee owners is really going to indicate the number of opportunities that are going to show up. So yeah, you do get these niche lists like the water shutoffs and the code violations, which aren't necessarily anything to do with an absentee, but an absentee in whole has a whole lot more types of distress than say a homeowner, and they're more willing to sell it at a discount because it's an investment and there's just not that attachment. They don't live in the home. So when I look at it, I look at when choosing a market, I look at the demographics, I look at the distress levels in that town. Let me back up a second. So I know we're talking about wholesaling, but I think one of the biggest mistakes I did from the very start was I didn't look at what my end outcome that I wanted. What was the end goal? And I really think that going after your end goal and figuring out, okay, let's stop and think, I don't just want to make money. What do I really want? At the end of the day, what is my goal? And then working backwards from there. So if it's multifamily, I'd say forget single family, forget wholesaling, forget about making money, like go into that multifamily space and learn it. Because I think I see so many people think that you have to go up this step ladder to get to wherever it is. In hindsight, I think it's better just to go after that. So for example, if your goal is to build up a rental portfolio, and you're living in Los Angeles, I wouldn't try to wholesale in Los Angeles and make a bunch of money so you can go invest somewhere. Like, where do you want that rental portfolio to be? Maybe because you have family there, you have friends there, you got a good property management company there. Go there. That's where you should set up your operation. And, you may be able to pick up the rentals along the way versus, just trying to make a bunch of money so you can invest that into something. So, so anyways, going back to looking at the data, when you're trying to choose what market you're going into, if you're looking at whether it makes a good rental market is very, very different than, do a good wholesale market. And so making sure you know what your end goal is before diving in and looking at all the data is important.
Mm-hmm. Speak to that quickly as far as distinguishing whether it's a better rental or wholesale market, and maybe even with coming through the lens of an investor that knows their area already, or they know the state that they're doing business in already, but maybe looking to tweak different counties, different zip codes that they're marketing to.
Yeah, so on the rental side, I mean, all that really matters, it's a long-term gain. So what you need is, first and foremost, you need a good property management company that services that area. That was a hard lesson I learned, and I've lost easy $500,000 easy through bad property management. And so ensuring that is the first and foremost thing I would look at before anything else, that there's good established property management companies that all investors can agree on, or the majority of investors in that space are like, yeah, go to that property manager, he's awesome. Then I look at, okay, what, and everything is like, you can't just be like, oh, everyone's leaving California and going to Tennessee, therefore Tennessee's a great market, or Florida. Like, it's so micro because there's great markets here in California. So understanding where is the job growth, and that would be the second thing I'd look at is, where's the population growth and where's their job growth in that submarket. And then, of course, the third is the affordability. Like, is it affordable to live there in the long term? If interest rates, I don't think they're going up for a long. In fact, the Fed said, hey, we're keeping it at 0% for the next 5 years. Don't even think about interest rates going up. But, if they did go up, is it still affordable in that market? So that's what I look at on the rental side. On the wholesale side, it's purely like, I don't care if everyone's leaving, like, because you're in such a short-term game. I don't care if I'm working in the like $50,000 houses in bad neighborhoods, because you can buy and sell quickly. Like, you're not closing on it, so you're not risking anything. So it doesn't matter, what the job growth looks like. If there's turn and burn, if people are buying and selling, you can make money.
Love it, man. So data is so readily available these days to investors, extremely available. Everybody knows the sites, different vendors. Maybe even you're able to pull some data from local websites and stuff, depending on your county and state. I want to talk a little bit about GoForClose, multi-channel marketing, and overall just best practices through, again, mistakes and lessons learned of the best way to target this data after they have an idea of either staying in of investors listening to this, after they have an idea of if they want to stay in their current market, like their specific market, maybe adjust where they're marketing to. And if you guys are listening to this, be sure to click on the link in the description as well, goforclose.com/hottest markets, which is a resource Josh provided on our mastermind call last week, which is really cool.
Yeah. So, as far as the data goes, I think so. One of my favorite quotes is, perfect is the enemy of good. And so many investors get in this trap of paralysis by analysis and trying to be like, oh, there's list stacking and, there's, oh, I got to get these like super niche lists and everything like that. I see there's two camps. One is you have a smaller budget. And in that case, yeah, all you need to do is go after those super niche lists. But if you want to scale and if you want to go big, you're going to run out of those super niche lists. And so you need to really be hitting every single absentee owner. And when you're hitting every absentee owner, guess what? You're going to be hitting those specialty lists, whether you know it or not. And yeah, as you get more sophisticated, you can absolutely build in segmentation. So you have different marketing messages to different people and all this good stuff. But if you're just getting going, or even if you've been going a while for this, but you're not getting the results you want, rather than, spending, being in the middle, I highly suggest either going super niche or go really big with a large volume. But so many people get caught in this middle ground where they're trying to go super niche, but they don't really, and it just gets over convoluted. So as far as the list goes, it is really tough to come up with good lists anymore, because all those niche special lists, like I mentioned, the code violations, the water shutoffs, the tax delinquencies, they're readily available now. And so it is where we're at, and where I think a lot more people are going to be going here in 2021 is really into the predictive modeling. So, and it's been around for a while. There's a site that I was using back in 2017 called Offers. It's OFFRS.com. And they're more good for realtors, but they essentially built their own predictive modeling back in 2017, where they looked at things like how many times are people going to Zillow.com and other things to indicate, hey, these people are likely to move. Now, that doesn't really help investors that much. I mean, that part is good. What you need on top of that, though, is what their likelihood to default is, what their likelihood to be in distress. So with those two combinations, if you can figure out, okay, people's credit scores are dropping, hey, people are late on their payments. If you can figure out those two pieces of the puzzle, that's really where our data world is going, is trying to predict who's going to hit that pre-foreclosure list before that pre-foreclosure list hits PropStream and the whole world has it.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then how about, let's talk about now just the best way of reaching out to them. Now that we have this, you're talking about maybe new ways of gathering data before it gets to public places. Like you mentioned, like PropStream, ListSource, things like that. Let's talk multi-channel marketing and why that's been effective for you.
Yeah. So it's crazy how far text messaging has gone. I remember I was at the Investor Fuse, do you call it Mastermind, or I don't know what it was, but we all gathered in Austin, and in the end of, I think it was 2018. And somebody came, who was it? It was Joseph from
Joe T.
Joe T. Yeah, I don't know.
First guy ever to use, not ever, but to use Lead Sherpa.
Yeah, so he was talking about this new thing called Lead Sherpa, and what's mind-boggling is this was only 2019. I mean, that was basically the end of 2018, and since then, it's like there's like 100 different platforms to do texting, and when I got my skip tracing, somebody had to come into my office and verify that I had locked file cabinets and a locked door. And like, it was a big deal to get phone numbers skip trace. And now, there's everybody and their mother is offering skip tracing. And so I think now the challenge is to not go after bad data. So my suggestion to people is, you pay for what you get, and if you're paying a cheap amount, chances are that's been recycled and used by 100 different people, and you don't know how old that data is. So it's easy now to text message and cold call and do the Ringless voicemails, and but now it comes back down to the data and making sure you have quality data. So with our marketing, that's essentially what we're doing. Is we first start out by texting them. If they don't respond, then we hit them with a cold call. If they don't respond and they're a hot enough lead, at that point, we may drip off some direct mail to them. We really use the Ringless voicemails and the email marketing more as a nurturing. So the people that are like, go away, we're not interested, I'll sell it in a year. Those are the people that we nurture through texting, Ringless voicemails, and email marketing. And then, of course, you also need the online. So you need the Facebook ads to do the retargeting and PPC. So it's getting a lot more complicated. Like, it was nice back in like 2016 when you could just do PPC or just do direct mail, but because of the competitive nature of everything, I think you don't have to be super complicated as far as like we're doing it one at a time. But starting out, sending everything to a texting platform, sending everything to a cold calling, sending everything to a Facebook. It's kind of like you do have to do multi-channel to really have success now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the importance is primarily on the data, but obviously if you're able to hit them with multiple different touches, and everybody's going to have a different preference. To me, that definitely makes a lot of sense just with Ringless voicemails. Just from investors I talk to every day, it seems like those are the most time consuming potentially, just for callbacks and people cussing you out and stuff like that. So I do like the idea of just doing that for nurture purposes along with email, and really starting off with text. And then if they're hot enough, sending them some type of mail piece as well. So it definitely makes sense to me. I want to talk a little bit about how you transitioned GoForClose, which accomplishes a lot of this from a traditional SaaS model to now more of like a done for you marketing agency. Because I know at the end of the day, you just want to be as helpful as possible and help people reach their highest levels, not just in their business, but their life that's affected by success in their business. So talk to me a little bit about how you transitioned GoForClose from like a typical SaaS model to more of the marketing agency done for you service.
Yeah. So I when I left, when I got, about 120 doors, and that's when I hit my passive income goal, and I was like, okay, I'm good. And then I transitioned into selling software, and I found that I don't want to say 95%, but probably between 90 and 95% of investors, their probably best use of time is not running their marketing. I happen to be very data. That was my job for 10 years. So I naturally fell into it. But for a lot of people, they're great salespeople. I suck at sales, right? So I really strongly feel that people should spend their time at what they're good at. And I saw so many people struggling with the software and with the data side. Probably 90 to 95% of my clients were, spending all their time running the software and trying to find the best data list and all this stuff. And I was like, man, how do I really help these people? And so that's when I was like, okay, there are other softwares that offer texting and everything else. Maybe I can like stop selling the software and really focus on building out a full agency that does it for those 90 to 95% of people who can't do it on their own. Who really struggle, who would rather be an owner, who would rather be in sales, who would rather, be working at what they're really good at. So yeah, that's how that transition came about. When I was building up my portfolio and doing all my wholesale deals, all I ever did was deal with money. So I worked with local banks, and I worked with private money lenders and everything like that. And I worked on my marketing. That was it. Every other position, the acquisition, the disposition, and transaction coordination, the property management, and everything else, I outsourced to different team members. And that allowed me to scale. So my goal with my clients is that they can work on, outsourcing all of their different components and outsource the marketing to me. So yeah, that's where we're at. And it feels really good. I definitely am not able to touch as many people. I could have thousands of software clients, but it's hard to manage that many for done for you service. But I think it's a good place to be.
I love it, man. Only talk to 2 seller leads, get 130 doors to reach your passive income goals, make a SaaS product, now full marketing done for you.
Well, and then I sold my portfolio.
Yeah, and this is when we were having dinner when you were like in the beginning stages of that. So
yeah,
that was like December 2020, I guess. Yeah, a year ago.
Yeah, probably a little. Yeah, so it was May of 2020 that I really set my heart to crypto space. Bitcoin is really going to explode. And rental properties are not passive. They're really not. Like, I had my own property manager managing the property management companies. And even then it wasn't truly passive. And there was continuous issues, continuous heartache, continuous like just learning. And I was like, man, I just want to have my money make money. And so I started looking, just like I looked in 2015, for how do I make a bunch of money? And now I was looking at, okay, where do I place that money? And I didn't care if my ROI went way down, if it could truly be passive. So I was looking at syndication deals. And then my friend who I rock climb with was just like, he's like, dude, you gotta put everything in Bitcoin. He'd been telling me that since like 2015. I started investing a little bit, but it was last year where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take everything I own and just put everything in it. And it turned out good. And I would really advise everybody, right now, the worst thing you can do is have money in your bank. Like it's insane what's going to be happening this next year with just assets are going to become more expensive. So whether that's owning properties, the property values are going to go up, gold, Bitcoin, whatever it is. The worst thing you can do though is have a bunch of cash in your bank. So I would say put it into some sort of asset class because the dollar is just, it's going away. Yeah. So I'm a big Bitcoin fan. And I don't think it's too late. It hit $50,000 yesterday. But I still think we're just at the beginning.
Love that. Yeah, man, that insight you had really good insight over the years. So in addition to having one of your geniuses or expertise being in data and numbers and management and stuff like that, I think you definitely have a keen eye for investments and stuff. And I know that was your rock climbing buddy that was telling you to hop on the Bitcoin train, but I specifically remember you telling me that over ramen about how much Bitcoin, about you literally telling me word for word how much Bitcoin was going to explode, and it just hit 50K, which is insane. I need to get some here. But a lot of good stuff on here, man. And I agree with, I think kind of like the 80-20 of what I see with you. And even you said it in your own words, is like, it's powerful when you can spend as much time in your genius zone as possible. So me and Josh are different personality types, different strengths, things like that. We both are in different areas, or spend our time doing different activities for our businesses. And that's what I would encourage you guys, is really reflect on what your strengths are. Josh estimates like 90 to 95% of investors probably should not be doing their own data management and marketing. I would agree. I don't know that high of a percentage, but I would say in general, a lot of them would benefit from outsourcing their marketing. So spend some time and think about that. What are you good at, and how can that relate to all the activities that need to be done in your business? And then Josh has been amazing at outsourcing a lot of that stuff. Clearly, if he's only talked to 2 seller leads in his life and has done all those transactions and acquired all those doors. So really, really impressive and inspiring. Is there anything else that you think you want to touch on or speak to moving forward here? We're shooting this year in mid-February. Hopefully a better 2021 for everybody with everything that's been going on for the last almost year now, which is crazy. Next year will be a year since stuff started getting locked down. But yeah, man, any last words or insights you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think the one thing that really was key to my success is, call it stupidity or whatever you want to call it, but I was 100% sure I was going to succeed. my goal was 100 properties, and it wasn't a matter of if, but when. Like, and I hear you talk all the time about that, and I cannot stress enough. It's 100%, well, 99.999% a mind game of just, just believing and knowing with a full certainty. And if something isn't working, innovating to find what you need to change to make it work. But yeah, I mean, truly all of my success came from knowing I was going to succeed. So it all starts there. And, I really think that this year for everyone could be a life-changing year if you have that certainty and fully put everything into it and stop wishy-washing between different things, and just be like, I'm going to be successful, whatever that is, and truly go after it and put everything into it. So it's a downfall. Like, I put every penny I had into Bitcoin. I took, and it could, but I was just 100% certain. I think that's what drives me to be successful, and I think it works. Just understanding, like, there's a lot of analogies out there, but essentially, if somebody said you're going to cut off your arm if you don't come up with $1 million next week, you'll come up with $1 million. So having that mentality is what I can contribute all my success to. So yeah, I'll end there.
Absolutely love that, man. Yeah, the belief to the point of conviction is huge. Definitely something that you've done yourself. I'm super impressed and inspired by, and you can do things every day, just taking action towards that every day to help you build that belief. Because some days are better than others. You might be down or things going on in your personal life, but really, if you can just take actions every day towards that end outcome, starting with the end and thinking about that, it can be super powerful and effective for you guys, as it has been with Josh. So thank you guys for checking out this episode. What's the best place to connect with you in addition to just GoForClose.com, or the resource I'm sharing, the GoForClose.com/hottest-markets?
Yeah, you can always email me, josh@goforclose.com, or book a strategy meeting, even if you're not really looking to use our services, but you really do want to talk and brainstorm. And my heart right now is 100% to help investors succeed. So if I can help you and point you in the right direction, it'd be my honor, truly. So yeah, reach out and let's hook up and see if I can help in any way.
Love it, man. Very appreciative, and we'll talk soon and hopefully chill in LA. That's 2021.
So the Lakers have to make it to the playoffs for me to see you. Is that what I'm saying? That's
they
what
will.
I'm
Now I'd come out there anyway, but also they're a lock for the playoffs. So that's and I know that with belief and certainty, like it's 100%.
Because I'll start rooting for the Lakers and LeBron James just to see you. So we'll make that happen.
Oh my God, that's funny. I love that, dude. It is 100%. It is 100% certainty the Lakers will at least be in the playoffs. So I'll be out there, man. That's hilarious.
Cool.
But thank you guys for checking this out. Definitely reach out to Josh. Could not give a bigger stamp of approval for working with him, and genuinely wants to see you guys succeed. So I would say give him a follow. Reach out to them, at least check out the resource, GoForClose.com/hottest-markets, just to see what's going on in your area and across the country from his data analytics there. So thank you guys and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Josh, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.